Welcome to Chad the Home Care Guy. Real conversations about aging, home care, and the decisions families face every day. Hosted by Chad Fisher, founder of Avail Home Care. Because caring for the people you love shouldn't be confusing. Let's get started.
Well, hi guys. Hey, it's Chad with the Chad the Home Care Guy, Avail Home Care. And we're back on this podcast with a friend of mine, Monica Bengston, and she is with Woundology. This is going to be a really good one to talk about because I have not done anything in this space yet. You're the first, so it's awesome. Start off by telling everybody a little bit about who you are and where you came from and how did you end up in this space?
Okay, that's a big question. I feel like a guru of everything these days. Monica Bengston, background of nurse practitioner, worked in the ER space for over 10 years and kind of, that whole COVID hit thing, which causes you to kind of look at where your space is and what people wanted and needed. Being that I was in the ER all the time, my husband was in the nursing homes. So we started to see that return to the ERs over and over again. We were like, what are people doing? The whole Medicare system is going back into the hospitals. And then you have a 3-day wait. And then you go back to the SNFs. And we were trying to figure out a way to stop that and prevent as much Medicare buildup or just tax dollars or everything else, insurance. So we actually did an urgent care at home for a while because there was a lot of people that didn't want to go into the healthcare settings at that time.
Which is how I met you.
Right.
So I remember I was fairly new. How long ago was that?
To 2021. Yeah.
So, I mean, right around that, we were new as well. That was new, trying to figure out new partnerships and who to meet. And I remember having that first meeting with him in Safety Harbor.
Yeah.
We had lunch and that was the first time I'd ever heard of that before. And I thought it was super cool. And I was like, how are we going to work together? There's going to be a way because what you're doing is really awesome.
It did end up lots of relationships. There's a lot of people that travel, right? As we call them, the snowbirds.
Yeah.
And they are a huge population that their insurances and whatnot. Some people like to pay self-pay and along with using their insurances. It's really a hodgepodge. There's that gap of care with if you're not 65. So.
Well, and my mom, just so that everybody knows, COVID was hitting and I probably had that new relationship with you guys at that point.
Oh, that's
Didn't
right.
really know enough, but my mom ended up calling me and said, I don't know what to do. I don't want to go to a hospital. I don't want to go to a doctor. I'm not sure what to do, but I think I'm sick and I may have COVID.
Right.
Everyone's got it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
And I said, my God, I have someone. Let me make a phone call. This is crazy because I just met them and, it was wild because she made the phone call. I forget who made the phone call, but made the phone call. And I think it was you that went out there. And mom still to this day said that was the best experience that she had ever had while she was that sick and didn't want to leave the home because she was just sick and said that was the best experience that she's ever had with anything like that. So,
to tell you the truth, that's all we ever heard. And
it was amazing.
Yeah. We ended up switching gears a little and going into the world of home care, provider-based.
Right.
So it was something that people just kept saying over and over again. This is amazing. I don't have to do transport. I don't have to have my family take off a day to get me here or there. And so we decided, okay, we'll start taking insurances. Yeah. So that's when we kind of got out of that fee-for-service type thing and went into the insurance and helping the bigger population that was in demand here. And then realizing with another patient that got referred to us, and it was a northern patient that was here, unfortunately had some burns on the back of her legs that we started treating. And that patient didn't have the insurance coverage because she was around 55 years old or something. So she was paying for us to coming in 3 days a week. And we were like, who could help with this type of thing? Right. So that's kind of where Avail comes in and was like, we don't need to be the ones that are charging them because it's not like we were doing much other than dressing changes. She couldn't reach them. So now we do woundology because we found all of these patients that are homebound that also have the wounds.
Right.
So we're like, wait a minute, what else can we do?
And I don't think people realized how big of a problem it was.
Yeah.
I know just from being in home care that we would continually see people come out of a rehab, usually home, hospital first, then rehab, and then home. But they do have, thin skin tears, bed sores. There's all these things that they would have. And non-skilled, we can't treat that. We can only call someone to treat that. So, yeah, it's a huge issue and it's sad, but it's a fix.
The transitional care management also was something that when we were in the ER, we were like, okay, wait, where is it that people are missing? You go into the hospital, you go into rehab, you're not quite well enough to get to your doctor when you get home.
Right.
So how can we also keep them from going back into the system and be able to help them in the home to build that physical therapy, occupational therapy, just someone to help them get meals to them or, a dressing change, just everyday stuff. You don't know until you're home.
Yeah, that's right.
And then you're like, oh my goodness, I could barely get to the bathroom and back. I can't get into a car to go to the doctor to get,
And with all the things that are happening during that time, who's thinking about planning for that?
Oh, no.
Yeah, nobody's planning for that because you don't know what you're going to be like when you get home. And that's another thing that I talk about all the time is the difference between home care and home health care because these people, these elderly people, they go home and they think, oh, well, they told me I was going to have home care when I got home. But hospital people, they don't tell the difference between home care and home health care.
Right.
So it's like lumped into one. And everybody just thinks they're going to be fine when they get home.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, they're stuck.
Which brings you to the point that when I used Avail, my father he's 75 and actually 76. Sorry, he'll be 77 this year. Time flies. But he's 76, first surgery in his entire life. He gets a total hip replaced.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, okay, 24 hours in the VA, then you go home. I was like, whoa.
Push out.
Yeah. Well, and some of these are outpatient nowadays, which I have found recently.
Yeah.
But the point was, I have the business that I'm running and with all of our team, with our co-founders and whatnot. And I have 2 children. I have 2 dogs. I have 2 cats. I have my husband.
The sandwich generation. We're in it. I'm in it with you. So.
And I was thinking, well, he's going to get up and walk when he's not supposed to. He's going to bend down all the rules that you're not supposed to do. How is he going to do that?
He probably would.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they all do.
So I said, okay, Angel, how can I get you guys to help me almost keep an eye on him, but make sure he's taking his medications and he's not going to be in pain. And then he ended up with muscle spasms which I didn't realize was going to be a thing. So his nurse, Jocelyn, was amazing, kept him in line, but in a very generous, knowledgeable way. Got there in the mornings, had breakfast, lunch. His medications helped build his pillowcase when he ended up on Sunday. I was like, set them all out.
Nice and relaxing for you.
Oh, gosh.
Or a little bit of relaxation.
It was much better because then if I needed to talk to her and say, hey, can you help him walk a little bit and make sure he's doing his exercises and make sure that he's getting stronger and using his walker.
Yeah. And you know what? It's easier to do that when someone else other than a family member is telling them what to do.
He followed everything she said.
That's great.
And she also helped, with the dishes and just the little mindful things, checking the mail for him and the little things that you don't think about. Like, I've got to take the trash out. It stinks.
Right.
And she helped out with that. Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, absolutely took a huge, helped him in the morning, set up for a shower. He had a chair, made sure everything. Again.
That is great.
I could not. I was getting kids to school. Knowing that and having that peace of mind was absolutely amazing for me.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you, what is the biggest misunderstandings families have about wound care?
Great question. And everybody may have a different, miscommunication with that. A lot of times we get I'm going to go to this outpatient clinic and you guys are coming in.
Right.
No, you can't do that. You get to choose. We are an outpatient clinic. The convenience of us is we actually come to you. So
Which if you have a wound, what's better than that? Nothing.
every week having to go to a clinic and set up that transportation.
And every time you have to get up and move around, you're stretching skin.
Yeah.
You're stretching the wound. You could break
Exposure to infection.
Yeah. And you got to sit in a car. What if it's on your bottom area or, your bottom of your legs or anything, your back?
And some people
Do that.
don't have the family anymore.
Yeah.
That is a number one issue with a lot of these patients. Their wife has passed on, or their daughter lives in Connecticut, or, so getting transportation for that is a hiccup.
Yeah. Now, do you get referrals? What are like the big referral partners for you guys? How do you find referrals?
Actually, the hospital case managers are a big one because they're discharging them from a rehabilitation or the hospital. And it could be a wound that they've had for a little bit and they were in for an infection.
Yep.
And the infection is now being treated, but we need somebody to make sure, one, it's not going to get reinfected. Two, it's going in the right direction as far as healing. And then three, getting the orders to those home health cares. So we do get referrals from the home health care as well.
Okay.
And that is another big one.
What about wound care challenges? Anything unique to the Florida senior population? What are you seeing most?
The change with the insurances, unfortunately, the population is moving away from the traditional Medicare, which is probably your absolute best route is the traditional Medicare. They cover
for everything. The red, white, and blue card is what you want. You want that.
The problem that we're running into is those advantage plans, they will call the patient and they will say that it is a huge advantage to switch to this because we're going to save you money. But unfortunately, it saves the insurance company's money.
Right.
It doesn't save the patient money. So I'm not an insurance person, but coming from the other side, it's not, they're skimping you on the good bandages when you could have the good bandage, but yet this one's much cheaper and it's only paid by the Advantage plan. So you're going to get this Band-Aid.
It's horrible. It really is.
It's frustrating because I have actually dealt with it with my mother who had a government Medicare plan and they government switched theirs entirely to a Medicare Advantage plan. So my mother even says, I have Medicare. I have it. I said, you have a Medicare Advantage plan.
Right, which is different. Yeah. Heck of a selling point right there when they just put the extra word on there.
Yeah.
What are the early warning signs of like pressure and injuries? What do families often miss when it comes to looking at a wound and knowing when it's time or if that's going to heal? Normally if I get skinned up, I'm like, that's going to heal on its own.
Right.
When do I know when to call you?
What they can't see is what causes the major injury.
Okay.
And it's under the skin. Okay. So the skin's intact, but then there's a bruise underneath that skin from the rubbing and not getting the pressure release causes the major underneath damage. So they don't see what's underneath, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
When you see that there's like a discoloration under the skin and a boggy area that wasn't there before, just be an advocate for your patient, your person, your family member, and say, can I have somebody look at this? Because what's going to end up occurring eventually is that's going to open up and everything underneath there is no good.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard to explain in layman's terms.
Yeah, no, that's good. I could envision what's happening while you're saying that. So that's good. What has been the hardest part of building Woundology, and also maybe what's most rewarding?
The hardest part is actually getting the education maybe to the patient level.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because there's no advertisement out there that really the patients are looking for. And it's word of mouth more. And we've had a lot of family members that are like, oh, so-and-so Aunt Betty said that her friend used this company.
Right.
And we pride ourselves on our back office, front office, and actual communication with all the parties.
Yeah.
From the marketer, case managers, home health care, whoever's involved with that patient. And so they don't realize there's several companies out there, obviously. There's competition in every department that you can think of, but getting your name to say, yes, they actually do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I didn't realize the competition when I started in the blue. I was actually talking to a friend of mine who was in the space. He's the one that actually got on board in the very beginning, helping me get started. But I didn't realize what the competition was until I actually had the license and started going to all the events. And then I'm like, wow, everybody's announcing themselves in their home care. And it's a little intimidating at first, obviously, but once the word gets out, and I've always held the motto, even with Jesse as the partner now, we've always had the motto that if you do right, you help people, and you do the right thing, the rest will follow. The money will come, things will happen. The reputation will then build. Right. But it takes a long time. Patient.
And the best part of what we're doing is seeing the results. Our practitioners that are like, who've worked in the ICUs, who've worked in the hospital settings, that are doing the home care now for these wounds, they get excited because they go, Monica, what we're seeing as fast as the recovery in their own comfort zone is so much faster than in the hospital setting. And so
and they're comfortable. They're eating their own foods in the refrigerator. They're not on restricted diets. They're not. It's all the things that you get. People aren't moaning and groaning in the middle of the night when they're staying there, and they're normal, and they're just getting some treatment on a wound or whatever it is to get out. It's just
think about it. When you're in the hospital, you have the bed, your bathroom, you have the door. You don't want to go out there with everybody.
No,
you don't move.
Yeah, you're right.
So when you're at home, you see a flower, you want to go pick at it. You want to, you want to go to the mailbox. So it motivates you to move
driving
more.
There.
Guess what? Wounds heal better when you move.
If you could teach every caregiver one wound care skill, what would it be? Especially for like my CNAs, HHAs that are in the home, what would something that they could do or look for that would benefit?
If you're speaking about your team, I would say maybe the quick signs of infection of a wound, maybe. And the only reason is that it could be a mosquito bite that turns into cellulitis or turns into an abscess or turns into. So when it comes down to my kids, I was like, if it hurts, there is something that's not right. If it doesn't, that's what's bad about cancers. They don't hurt. Okay. But if it's red hot and painful, please make a call. Even if it's been there, but if you start seeing red, if you start seeing drainage, if you start feeling heat to it and it's painful, call someone and let it be Woundology.
Exactly. What innovations in wound care excite you most right now? Is there anything that's coming out that you guys are like, oh, we want to be a part of this?
Well,
not
we
the insurance,
are
obviously.
Part of it. We are a part of it now, and we have been, and we're starting to really get excited about it here in Florida. So it's the ultrasonic ultra mist therapy.
Okay, I've never heard of it.
It's amazing. Again, our nurses drool at the recovery and the healing of it, and what else helps is that we can provide this as an alternative for those advantage plans with insurance.
Awesome.
Because they actually accept this therapy. When again, unfortunately, it does come down to insurances. If you have an advantage plan, there are certain things that you cannot move further on your wound care. Okay. It gets stopped. And this is an advanced wound care that can heal. Basically, for an example, we had a gentleman who had a wound on his elbow and it had been there for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
3 years. Because you bump it, it's a bendable area. It would not heal. We had the Ultramist out there twice a week for 6 weeks, and you could see it closing. And he was so excited.
Oh, I bet.
He's like, 3 years.
3 years? I mean,
we've tried everything. And it has not healed. And that nurse was like taking pictures from day 1, week 3, week 4, and you could see it close. It gets down into the other layers of the tissue, causing it to stimulate healing along with blood flow, and it gets the bacteria out. So
you're really healing from the inside out.
Inside out.
So once it's finished, it's truly healed.
It's healed.
Finished. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And we actually provide that therapy.
Wow.
In the home.
That's awesome. It really is. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where do you want Woundology to be? Or where do you see it being in 3 to 5 years? And, it could be anywhere, anything.
Yeah.
And I know that you guys have had some growth and done some different things, but where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years with Woundology?
A solid name, good care, amazing care, and throughout the entire state of Florida.
Yeah.
We're very dense down here, as you know.
This is the Mecca. I mean, it really is. This is the place to be for, the it's the silver tsunami we're in, and the biggest population of that just tends to be right where we're at.
But being able to reach those people that are not would be a priority for me. And it's hard because you have to have the practitioner in your area. So being able to expand to those areas that just are more rural would be
expansion's tough. People don't understand what it's like to expand, and we've been asked at a fail. We've had people come and asked us to franchise or different state, and we've always shied away from that, because we don't know what that looks like in different areas. And with home care, we're private pay, but in other states they use Medicaid as the majority of their payers for home care, which I've talked to people in Minnesota and a few different places that have home care companies, and they're like, what do you mean private pay? We don't even have one private pay company, but we have 100 clients.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is that even possible? We can't even do that here without private pay.
Right.
So everything changes from state to state. And I think that's one of the hardest things in expansion is learning all the different nuances of what you can and can't do in all those different areas. So
and also a message as far as my dad has Medicare, he has TRICARE, secondary, he's fully covered. But guess what? That wasn't enough for me.
Yeah,
it wasn't enough for him. So you don't have to have insurance to be able to use Avail. That was my thing is, my dad's like, well, I don't know what I'm getting. He didn't even know that physical therapy was set up for him.
Really?
Absolutely didn't until they called him. I'd asked where, PT, OT, they gave him a sheet with exercises.
Yeah.
I said, he's never going to do these. Yeah. I mean, he's going to get home and he's like, I'm fine. I'm fine. That's what they do. He's very independent. Yeah. He lives alone, 76.
It's not happening. That drill sergeant being there and telling him what to do.
All right, Rick, it's time to get up.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, tell everybody before we end this, tell them where they can find you, good phone number, email, and website, all that good stuff.
As I'm trying to recall everything off the top of my head, but we do have a woundologyco.com, which is woundologycompany.com website. And we are on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. We're on
all the different channels.
Just
like this.
Yes. And we have fax numbers, we have phone numbers. But if you wanted a referral, you wanted more information, admin@woundologyco.com is the best way to reach out to us. We can get you to the right person. We have marketers, patient care coordinators, nurses in the back office trying to make sure everything's going.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the phone number off the top of my head, but it's what it is for this program.
We find it, and then I can put it up on there on the
Absolutely.
screen, and we can do one of these things, and right there, and all that good stuff. Well, thank you so much for being on.
I appreciate
this. This has
it.
been awesome.
Yes, we've helped each other. It's funny.
It's about time that I had you on here, so I'm glad that you agreed to come on here and do this. And listen, guys, if you ever need anything in that space or wound care space, please reach out. You can even reach out to us, and we will make that referral back over to them as well. So, again, thanks again for watching. And until next time, we'll see you. All right. Take care, guys.